Truth vs. tradition, Christmas, the birth of Christ, or Rome's winter system in church clothes.
Have you ever really stopped to think about where our Christmas traditions come from? I mean, before you even get to the nativity or the baby in a manger, there's this really important historical question we have to ask. And it takes us way back, long before the 1st century, all the way to ancient Rome. What was Rome already doing in that last week of December? Because history shows us something pretty fascinating. That whole December season was already packed, long before the nativity was ever placed inside it. And that's the mystery we're going to unpack today. So, let's start with our very first clue. And it comes from the most foundational source you can imagine, the text itself. We're on the hunt for some missing evidence. Now, to be super clear, the Gospels absolutely record the birth of Jesus. The event itself is documented. That's not what's in question here. But you gotta notice what they don't do. This right here, this represents a stunning silence in the New Testament. I mean, there is no command anywhere to celebrate Christ's birth every year. Zero instruction from Jesus on it, no example from the apostles, not one single yearly observance mentioned in the book of Acts. If you're looking for a holiday calendar built around the nativity, the pages are blank. So here's the deal. The early church was laser focused on the death and resurrection. They talked about it all the time. But when it came to throwing an annual birthday party for Jesus, complete and total silence. That silence, that's the first crack in our modern assumption about where Christmas really comes from. Okay, let's move on to our second clue and see how this all built. We're going to step out of the Bible for a second and right into the Roman world. Centuries before Christmas was even a thing. We need to look at the pre-existing scene. Late December in Rome was not some quiet, empty time of year. Far from it. It was one of the most festive seasons of the entire year, and it was dominated by two massive observances. Saturnalia, which was basically a week-long party, and Sol Invictus, a celebration of the sun on December 25th. Let's zoom in on Saturnalia for a second. This thing was huge. We're talking massive public feasts, gift-giving all over the place, and a time when the normal social order got completely flipped on its head. It was just a week of intense, society-wide celebration. Does any of that ring a bell? Widespread feasting and giving gifts in the dead of winter? You see, Saturnalia had already made this kind of seasonal party mode completely normal throughout the entire Roman world. And then you've got December 25th itself. By the 3rd century, this date was directly tied to the imperial celebration of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. And what that did was give the date a very specific, very powerful meaning about the return of light right after the winter solstice. Now, just to be accurate here, historians do debate the exact relationship between Sol Invictus and the later adoption of Christmas, but here's the thing everyone agrees on. December 25th was not a random empty date on the calendar. It was already symbolically loaded for the Roman Empire. It already meant something big. Okay, so this brings us to the moment where these two stories start to crash into each other. Let's look at how the church enters this Roman calendar and how the timeline starts to converge. This timeline shows a really crucial gap. In the 1st century, during the time of the apostles, there is no record of a birthday celebration. Then, through the 2nd and 3rd centuries, Christians were a persecuted minority. There was no unified holiday. It's not until the 4th century, after Christianity becomes legal, that we start to see the first clear references to December 25th as Christ's birth. And the timing here is absolutely everything. The day for Christmas doesn't just show up in a vacuum. It appears centuries after the apostles, and it gets placed right inside a calendar that Rome was already using for its own major winter festivals. And that right there raises some very legitimate historical questions. So how do all these pieces actually fit together? Well, this is where we get to see the real structure of Christmas reveal itself. And it's not a single event, it's more like a series of layers that got built up over a long time. Let's break down these layers. Think of it like this. The foundation, step 1, is that pre-existing Roman festival culture. Then, step 2, the church comes along and places a new, sacred meaning right on top of it, the nativity. But it didn't stop there. Centuries later, step 3, you get European folk customs like evergreen trees and lights added into the mix. And finally, step 4, in our modern era, the powerful engine of commercialism gets layered right on top of the whole thing. And here's the gut punch. When you look at Christmas today, you are not looking at one single, pure stream flowing straight from the first century. You are looking at a complex structure that was created by centuries and centuries of cultural layering. And let's be really clear, this isn't some simplistic internet meme or a wild conspiracy theory. This is a historically defensible pattern. It's the story of how culture actually develops, how it absorbs and repurposes ideas over huge stretches of time. So that brings us to today, to the big, complex cultural machine that we've all inherited. Let's take a look at the modern aftermath of all this layering. I mean, what does Christmas even do today? Well, it serves all these different functions at the same time. It's a massive retail engine, it's a cycle of cultural expectations, it's a season of intense social pressure, and for many, it's a sacred religious observance. It's all of these things, and a lot of them are in conflict with each other. You know, the uncomfortable truth is, most of us never consciously chose this system. We were just born into it. We inherited it, we repeated the patterns year after year, and we rarely, if ever, stopped to trace them back to where they started. And that's how powerful cultural systems keep on going, quietly. So, if we were to really separate these layers, what would we see? Well, on one side, you have the focus of Scripture, the sacred event of Christ's birth. And on the other side, you have all of history's additions, the cultural machine of festivals, customs, and commerce that was built around that event.
And that leads us to a final, pretty personal question. When you mentally pull apart what Scripture actually established from what history gradually layered on top, what do you discover? What's left for you?
Because here's the ultimate takeaway. The stuff that often feels ancient, sacred, and completely untouchable, it's often way more constructed, more man-made than most of us were ever told. So the challenge is to stay curious, stay discerning, and as always, follow the evidence wherever it might lead.